recurrence. That means events that happen every third week of the month or every first Saturday of the month. And amazingly enough, it sounds really simple, and it is one of the hardest problems in computing, both from a time zone point of view, but also from a user interface point of view. We have struggled with it, everybody else has struggled with it. It's not that we're particularly stupid. It is really a hard problem to get right, and we think we finally have it right.
Yes, yes, and that's called Plone App Event. It's available now if you want to try it in your Plone 4 sites. Works very well. And yes, like Paul said, it handles event occurrence, it handles venues. There are a number of really great improvements to the event content type. News items have always had a lead image, an image it shows on at the top of the page. We're now enabling that for all types. It's a dexterity behavior, so it's a little bit of content behavior that we can apply per type as we see fit. There's going to be some extra social media integration, like the Facebook graph.
Open graph metadata. So that's basically Dublin core for the corporate 21st century. But yeah, everybody is using it, so it is really helpful if you have it in your site. Date formatting, we already mentioned that.
Yes, we mentioned the date formatting. It'll do things like simplify dates into a fuzzy format a minute ago, an hour ago, 3 weeks ago. But it will also allow you to very quickly change the formatting into a localized date string or a specific, whatever specific format you would like.
Change the logo, like really easy. It has always been really hard to change the logo for some, it's always the first question that people ask, and it's always been insanely complicated. Now it's just upload a new image and you're done. And yeah, integrating your own JavaScript. We are using require.js like the rest of the civilized world. So it becomes, it's more or less similar to the picture we saw before where the less variables were exposed. Now also the JavaScript ordering is exposed, and you can influence it through require.js, which makes a lot more sense to everybody who uses JavaScript.
Right. So because we're using require.js, so we're always careful about this because there are certain people who are very particular about how they do JavaScript, and there are some people who are very not particular. I'm one of the latter. I like my simple jQuery scripts that I can just toss into Plone and use wherever I'd like. But if you want to be very particular, you can set up the requirements in your JavaScript file, and Plone will automatically handle that ordering. So you don't have to go into the portal JavaScripts and click that up button and down button to get everything exactly where it needs to be. That will be handled automatically. If you're like me and you're a mediocre JavaScript developer, there is a separate bundle that you can put your simple scripts into, and you can still do that manual ordering, and it'll handle everything else for you. Yes, so the biggest question everyone has is the migration path. And Paul mentioned earlier, we've made mistakes about this in the past. Everybody dealt with Plone 3, and we're very sorry for that. But we've kind of learned from mistakes in the past, and so we're doing everything we can to make this move from Plone 4 to Plone 5 as simple as possible. I mentioned the content type migration is automated. The lingual Plone to multilingual migration is automated. Because we're using Diazo, you'll be able to take your old theme and map the new Plone content directly into that. We're doing everything we can to simplify this as much as we can for you.
And the next big question.
Yeah, the other question I always get is when will Plone be released? We are aiming for mid-September of this year, so finally. We're in beta 2 right now. Beta 3 I'm hoping to push out tomorrow at the sprint if anyone wants to come and try that out. So yes, like I said, we're waiting on one final feature, which is that editable member data, and then we can go into the feature freeze and start the release candidate process.
And that also means that all the translation teams can get into gear. Once we get into feature freeze, then everything is there basically that needs to be translated. So there's work to be done.
Yes. And one of the other things to mention about that date is, for the first time ever, we actually have plans about how we're going to market Plone, a Plone release. This is something we've never done in the past. We've always just kind of, with Plone 4, the night before the release, we said, oh right, we need a list of features for plone.org, and wrote that up at the last minute. Now we have a group of our team leaders meeting together to discuss exactly how this release is going to go. So I think it's going to be a much bigger, we're going to make a much bigger deal of it, and I think it's going to be a much smoother process for everyone.
But yeah, we're not stopping there. We're already planning some features that will not make it into Plone 5.0 because they're still in active development, and we have to have a feature freeze at some point, otherwise you never release something. But they're so cool that we do have to show them. And one of the coolest ones is called Mosaic, and that is, well, as you can see here, it is a way. This particular one has a bootstrap background, so it's responsive, but it's a way to generate cover pages or complex layouts where you say, like, I want an image here, I want 2 columns of text, I want a block of the last 3 news press releases in the low end, and it's all set up so that you can say, well, my privileged users can make new ones, and my interns can only fill them. Or you can say, no, everybody is completely free to make their own page as crazy as you want it. That's all up to the site administrator to set policies on that. But you can create all of these. All of these are automatically versioned as well. So if you try a new one and it looks horrible, you can actually go back to the last one. So that encourages people to be a bit more freer. If there is an undo button, that always helps to build confidence. If you mess it up, just go back one step. And it is really cool. It is in active development right now. It will be worked on in a major sprint in Arnhem in the Netherlands. It will be not for Plone 5.0, but we're hoping to get it into Plone 5.1. It's already really cool to play with, but I would not use it in production right now because Asko Suka, the crazy guy from Finland, is making new releases like every day. So, but it's getting there at a very, very rapid pace, and I'm very excited, as you can hear, about this, because this puts so much power back into the hands of the Power Editor to make these composite pages, to make like the front page of your site, or to make a sub landing page. Those people don't have to call on a sysadmin or a programmer anymore. They can do it themselves. Designers can do it, or your head of text writing can do it, and that is exactly where that power should be, and not with your IT staff.
Right, and if you want to follow along with the development of this, Asko has been posting everything on community.plone.org. There's a thread on there where he's been discussing the changes and any issues that people have been running into. But it's something that you can install now and try out. It's called Plone App Mosaic. And the links are in that that thread on community.plone.org. Like Paul said, don't use this in production yet, but definitely try it out because it's very fun and very cool.
The next one exciting thing that is happening is Plone Intranet. Plone Intranet is a separate development. It is very much connected to Plone. It is based on Plone, but it took a unique route to getting it done. It was thought up by one person, but soon he was like, over the years at the conferences, at the Sorrento meetings, it turned out that all of the Plone consultancy firms, at least the ones in Europe, had their own implementations. There were like 6 firms, consultancies in the room, and 6 of them had made their own version of a personnel management or of a roster system. So they were like, this is crazy. We're repeating the same thing over and over again. It's much better if we work together and find the best ideas. So they founded the Plone Internet Consortium and sprinted on it. They put resources in it, they put developer power into it. They have had a sprint for at least 1 week per month, every month since last October. And it's nearing completion. And they have taken a very strict methodology. They said the design and by design I don't mean the graphic design, but the design of the interaction is the key leading principle of how we want our internet to work. And they've also decided to make the social element key. They were like, if you're hiring younger people nowadays, or if you have an internet for students, they all know how to work Facebook or Twitter or Weibo or any of the social media or Instagram. This will be your new generation of employees, this will be your students, this is how your internet should work as well. So here it's also the interaction is the main thing. So you can create work groups, you can create, it has very nifty features, so it will automatically have all your Office documents like MS Office or LibreOffice documents or PDFs, it will show them, but you can also like them and you can comment on them and you can work on them together in a collaborative way. And you can also say, what have I been doing? Or you can say, it's like a social internet, social media for your company or for your university or for your organization. And so it focuses a lot on the personal element. And I think it's really working. They've done a lot of research and they're hoping to release it before the summer. They've also made the conscious decision to make this 100% open source. Even though everybody was like, are you going to make a premium version? They were like, no, we will sell our knowledge in consulting. That is what they will do. But the code is owned by the Plone Foundation, which is a reassurance to everybody. You won't get stuck with proprietary code. It is completely GPL open source code. And there's a lot of universities moving that way. There's already one in Barcelona who has 4,000 students, and they are using like a precursor to this. And every student has a mobile app so they can use on their phone. They're constantly in contact with the university and with each other, and it works pretty well. At first they were really, the university, the head of the department was a bit afraid that they would use it for flirting and other things that are not meant to be at the university, but actually the students have been quite well. So it works, this social stuff.
Sure. We mentioned earlier kind of working on building the community, something we've been doing over the last few years as the first generation of Plone, the Plone community have moved on, and we've been kind of rebuilding that. This is something we've really focused on. We've been building a Teams infrastructure within the community as both a way to build up the leadership within the community, to improve the software itself, and to provide a way for new users or new contributors to get involved. So we have Sven with the documentation team, Paul with accessibility. We have what do we have? We have the framework team, the installers team, the marketing communications.
Infrastructure,
testing,
translations,
training. Yes.
We're coming to those.
We'll come to those.
I'll mention a few of the teams extra because they're also relevant for Plone 5 and for this symposium. Documentation. The documentation team has learned quite a bit from interacting with other open source communities, trying to see how they are doing stuff, and it's been real fun. And currently our documentation is versioned. It's not quite ready for 5 yet, but will hopefully be. And there will be a talk here later today on documentation by Sven, who leads the documentation team. And also there is now a new initiative to have better training materials for developers. So Philip Bauer and Patrick Gurken from Germany have been giving Plone trainings both in Germany but also at Plone conferences. They've been giving the training in Brazil, in Bristol, and they were like, well, let's do what we do best, namely open source our training, our materials. So they've open sourced their training materials, and so they are quite good, but they are not meant for self-study. They are actually meant as a guide for other trainers. You can use them to self-study, but it's better if you follow a course. But they do not want to monopolize it. They want to have other trainers. If somebody here is a trainer and you think like this can be done better, please contribute. So far, well, they have been tested on real students, not on innocent test animals. We are kind to animals. We have tested on real students. They're okay. And the training material is on Transifex, so it's all translatable. If you want to create a Japanese version, that would be quite possible, and we would love it.
It's at about 5% translated right now, I think.
Yeah, I think the Japanese for the training is about at 5%. So if there is interest, yeah, the training materials are not very long because they're training. They're more like slides or points. So it's not like it's not that well. It's still work, but it's doable.
Yes, we've had I think 5 or 6 other people pick up these training materials and start teaching courses throughout the world using this. So it's been very successful.
So the last thing I want to mention is that there is a Plone conference, and it will be in October in Bucharest. Bucharest is in Romania, and this is the logo and the site. There will be 2 days of training. There will be 3 days of conference and 2 days of sprints, and we would love for you to come. So there are 3 tracks announced already for the training. 2 are Mastering Plone for beginners and for advanced, and 1 is for JavaScript for Plone developers or for Python developers who still think like JavaScript, ooh, that's a bit scary. We can help you with that. And then there will be, after that, there's 3 days conference and 2 days of sprints. If you wonder where is Romania, it is in Europe. It's on the far east side of Europe. It is a lovely country. Bucharest is known as the Paris of the East. And they have managed to secure a really nice location. It is a 5-star hotel. It is the tallest building in Bucharest. And we will be sitting on the top floor, as you can see, so we'll have a good view over the entire area. Tickets are on sale since about 3 hours ago, so you can buy your tickets tonight if you're at home. Consider it. It would be lovely if we get more participants from Japan. We always love to see you come. It's great. And as Manamu can say, it's always a good experience to go to the conference, isn't it? Yeah. So that's the conference. And the last one, there is a sprint tomorrow. And maybe you want to say a few more, well, sprints really are, yeah, you were...
Sprints are the lifeblood of the Plone community. This is how we meet each other. This is how we interact and pass on both the community culture and the knowledge of the software. And so it's very important to continue these. So I would really recommend that if you have the time tomorrow, please come and join us. And we can find a task for any skill level, any interest that you might have.
That was it. I think we slightly overran. Now we have some time for questions, but we are also available the whole day, the whole night, and tomorrow. So if you want to ask a deeper question, feel free to ask at lunch or during the break or whatever. I will ask Manabu if we have time for quick questions now, or if he has to be really strict.
5 minutes.
5 minutes. Okay.
はい、質問、まあ英語でしてもらった方がいいけど、まあ日本語でもなんとかしますっていう感じで。Have you any question? 質問はありますか？日本語で？日本語で12分は質問しました。誰か翻訳よろしく。
プロ5の UI、とても素晴らしい JavaScript の UI だと思うんですが、あれはどんなテクノロジーを使ってますか？
Pro 5 is a very, he said that Pro 5 is a very good UI. So, which do you use Pro technology?
What technology of the management UI use? If it's use JavaScript API only, I imagine it's the UI can be integrated to another CMS.
Yes. So we are using something called Mockup, which is a way of it sounds like a whole new project, but it's really just a way of integrating third-party JavaScripts into Plone. So when you saw Tiny MCE or the selection widgets, those were coming straight from a third-party product. So we are able to bring those directly from these other projects into ours without a lot of customization like we had to do in the past.
Yeah, but we're using Mockup, which is a version of Pattern Slip that is a bit more well known. It's a very lightweight integration. It's basically just widgets. And in the course of the Plone Internet Consortium, Pattern Slip and Mockup have been merged again. So it's basically the same. It's Pattern Slip, which is a way to, you just say in a data attribute on your HTML, you say I want to call this widget, and then it gives you a date picker or any of those. And it degrades very good for accessibility issues or if people have no JavaScript enabled.
Thank you. Another question?
他にいますか？
他にどうですか？あ、どうぞ。
はい。I heard that you mentioned about the mailing list, about newsletter, Pro newsletter. I tried to find the subscribe page, but I couldn't. So
It should be.
Can you introduce the?
Do you have internet? Mine didn't work. I can show you.
Please.
No, I didn't.
No connection.
後でニュースレターのメーリングリストの URL はツイッターかなんかに流しますので。
そうしましょうか。
はい。
はい。
ツイッターで。
Plone.org on the front page.
Okay. We'll do it later.
Yeah.
Thank you.
あなたクエスチョン、他最後の質問でもう一問だけ。どなたか大丈夫ですか？日本語でも英語でも。
はい。
あ、どうぞ。
Thank you very much, and I'm very impressed with the beautiful design of Plone 5. And I'd like to know, if we can upload the movie file like MP4 or sound file MP3 as the same way. You can show them drop and drag to the body text section in Plone 5.
I believe so.
Okay. Thank you so much.
I will get myself in trouble if I say yes.
Yes, I've tried.
It works.
Yes,
it works.
You can upload files. It doesn't come by default with a product that actually plays MP3s, but you can upload any file. I've tried it with video files and with Office files. and PDFs, and that works. And it works with, video. If video files work, I suppose MP3s will work. I haven't tried MP3, but I've tried MP4, and that works.
Okay, thank you.
はい、ありがとうございました。大きな
はい、ありがとうございました。大きな拍手で、この後もお昼の時間とか質問とかですね、誰か捕まえて英語できる人結構いると思うんで。